Mamá decía que las mexicanas
Bienvenidos al futuro del ecosistema de negocios en México. La Confederación de Cámaras de Comercio, Servicios y Turismo de México se enorgullece en presentar el Global Investment Consulting Center, el primer centro de trabajo compartido y servicios globales integrales diseñado para impulsar y fortalecer las oportunidades de inversión y desarrollo empresarial en nuestro país.
En este centro ofrecemos una amplia gama de servicios especializados que hacen posible que su empresa se desarrolle, se establezca y prospere conjuntamente con nuestra red empresarial en las 32 entidades federativas de México. Entre nuestros servicios, destacamos aquellos que harán la diferencia en su camino hacia el éxito. ¿Está buscando abrir una empresa en México? Le proporcionamos todo el apoyo legal y administrativo necesario para que su proyecto se establezca de manera rápida y segura. Si su meta es traer inversión extranjera, nuestro equipo de expertos se encargará de guiarlo a través de todos los procesos, maximizando las oportunidades de éxito para que su inversión tenga una base sólida para crecer, diferenciarse y llegue a un buen puerto.
Para ello, nuestra ventanilla única ofrece varios servicios como aquellos necesarios para registrar sus marcas y servicios legales digitales de vanguardia, con la tecnología que mejoran la seguridad jurídica y le ahorrarán tiempo y costo. Pero nuestro apoyo no se detiene ahí. También damos la bienvenida a los inversionistas y sus familias, facilitando su integración en México para que su experiencia de expansión sea plena y sin complicaciones.
El Global Investment Consulting Center no solo ofrece servicios, somos su socio estratégico en cada paso del desarrollo de su empresa, brindándole las herramientas y el acompañamiento necesario para que su proyecto tenga un impacto duradero y exitoso en México y más allá.
Mamá decía que las mexicanas nacemos de las flores, como algunos vienen del agave y otros del café, hasta que un día
Mamá,
me pregunté,
¿qué pasaría si dejara de ser mexicana?
Resulta que perderías todo lo bueno
de mí. Olvidaría cómo hacer las cosas bien, cómo siempre trabajar con orgullo y el tratar a los otros con lo mejor de mi corazón.
Y cuando llegues por la noche cansada a casa, repite.
Lo mejor que sé hacer
es ser mexicana. Y así quiero que sea todo. Mexicano, muy mexicano, lo más mexicano que se pueda hacer. El cielo, la gente y los colores, como el rosa mexicano.
Que nunca se nos olvide que la nuestra es una civilización trabajadora,
que nuestro patrimonio está hecho con el alma.
Que México sea muy mexicano.
Bienvenidos al futuro del ecosistema de negocios en México. La Confederación de Cámaras de Comercio, Servicios y Turismo de México se enorgullece en presentar el Global Investment Consulting Center, el primer centro de trabajo compartido y servicios globales integrales diseñado para impulsar y fortalecer las oportunidades de inversión y desarrollo empresarial en nuestro país.
En este centro ofrecemos una amplia gama de servicios especializados que hacen posible que su empresa se desarrolle, se establezca y prospere conjuntamente con nuestra red empresarial en las 32 entidades federativas de México. Entre nuestros servicios, destacamos aquellos que harán la diferencia en su camino hacia el éxito. ¿Está buscando abrir una empresa en México? Le proporcionamos todo el apoyo legal y administrativo necesario para que su proyecto se establezca de manera rápida y segura. Si su meta es traer inversión extranjera, nuestro equipo de expertos se encargará de guiarlo a través de todos los procesos, maximizando las oportunidades de éxito para que su inversión tenga una base sólida para crecer, diferenciarse y llegue a un buen puerto.
Para ello, nuestra ventanilla única ofrece varios servicios como aquellos necesarios para registrar sus marcas y servicios legales digitales de vanguardia, con la tecnología que mejoran la seguridad jurídica y le ahorrarán tiempo y costo. Pero nuestro apoyo no se detiene ahí. También damos la bienvenida a los inversionistas y sus familias, facilitando su integración en México para que su experiencia de expansión sea plena y sin complicaciones.
El Global Investment Consulting Center no solo ofrece servicios, somos su socio estratégico en cada paso del desarrollo de su empresa, brindándole las herramientas y el acompañamiento necesario para que su proyecto tenga un impacto duradero y exitoso en México y más allá.
Mamá decía que las mexicanas nacemos de las flores, como algunos vienen del agave y otros del café, hasta que un día
Mamá, mamá,
me pregunté,
¿qué pasaría si dejara
Good morning. Hello, Manuel. Hello, Sergio. How are you?
Everything okay? Thank you so much. Good morning.
Good morning, Sergio. How are you?
Fine, thank you, Marcelo.
Thank you very much, everyone. Welcome who are joining us in this series of webinars of business intelligence on how to do business with Mexico. Every second of each month, we are holding these spaces to enhance and improve all the business connections we have in our international network. The Confederation of Chambers of Commerce, Services, and Tourism welcomes once again all the network of embassies, business associations in all over the world, trade and investment promotion agencies, bilateral chambers, chambers of commerce, industries all over the world. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for being connected with the Confederation all the time. We are holding also different business missions, business and commercial fairs and exhibitions. So for us, it's been a wonderful year of good achievements. The Confederation of Chambers of Commerce, Services, and Tourism is the largest, oldest organization here in Mexico. We represent more than 60% of the GDP of this wonderful country. And we have presence in all the 32 states of Mexico through the network of 258 chambers of commerce, services, and tourism. This sector is very active in dynamizing the local economy and connect with all the regions in the world with the network of small and medium enterprises, especially. But we also connect with big companies here in Mexico in a sense that we can create a successful and very dynamic regional value chain. Well, that being said, today we have two special guests, and we will start with Manuel. Manuel Echeverría is a good friend. We've known each other for more than, I don't know, more than 15 years.
Maybe around
12
maybe
years.
around eight years. No, like 18 years or something like that. Yeah.
18 years, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a long time as a person I really admire. So he will present first what are the main aspects to export in foreign markets. He's living in Miami right now, and Manuel is an expert in how to open the market in United States, but also he served in Brazil, and he's an expert of how to open markets all over the world. Was leading the trade promotion agency of Ecuador, and is now the CEO and founder of his own company, a very successful company. And we hope to organize different business delegations with Manuel during this year. And then Sergio is a good friend recently, not as long as Manuel, but he's an expert on how to handle business on the other side, from the world to Mexico. So we have here two experts who will be talking about on the main aspects on how to do business from and to Mexico in the most simplified ways, and what are the main aspects to take into consideration when you want to trade with Mexico and for Mexican companies to go abroad. So Manuel, thank you very much for joining us, and the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Marcelo. Thank you for inviting me to participate here in this webinar. I would also like to say hi to Sergio. Nice to meet you, and also all the participants, all the attendees that are already connected. Yes, I'm gonna talk about how to do business in the U.S. or how to export or how to do international trade with the U.S. market. As you know, the U.S. market is the main trade partner for almost all the Latin American countries, not only South America, but also in Central America and the Caribbean. But we know that last week we had a recent situation, the new tariff situation imposed by the U.S. government that maybe is going to change a little bit what we call the map of international trade, how things are going to be done. But beside all this situation, we need to see how this can affect our companies, our brands, our companies that are in Latin America, or how can benefit them. Because we need to talk also, for example, some products that the US is really used to import from Asia, for example, from China, from Thailand, from different countries. Right now, the tariff situations have changed. And now for the US importer, for the US distributor, it's going to be better to buy from Latin America because the tariff is going to be lower, even though we have a tariff right now that we didn't have it maybe 2 weeks ago. But the situation in Latin America is going to be better to source from Latin America, to source from Mexico, to source. Of course, Mexico have the free trade agreement that is a specific chapter, it's a different situation. But there is also a lot of opportunities that we will see in the other countries as providers to the U.S. market. Okay, so I'm going to show a little presentation. And Marcelo, sorry, is it okay if I speak in Spanish? Is okay?
This webinar is aimed for foreign markets, and so now we have guest people from Asia, European countries, and probably from Australia, New Zealand as well. So yeah.
Okay. Okay, don't worry.
Will be held.
I'm gonna speak in English then. My presentation, unfortunately, is in Spanish. Okay, but I will translate it later and I will send it back to you so you can send it to the attendees. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much. Yeah, the important facts related to numbers are key to explaining English. So I think it's a universal.
Yeah, that's okay.
And very simple to understand, right?
Yes. Let me just give me a minute. I'm going to show this. Okay, I think you can look at my screen right now, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes. Okay. So this we're going to talk about what are the opportunities to export, especially on food. I'm going to talk about food because that's what we are more specialized for the US market. Under the new tariff politics or the new tariff situation here in the US. Okay, so that's the most important. We're going to focus more on food. That's where we work, and food is maybe, or food related products is maybe the most percentage or one of the most important sectors where the US trades with the different markets, including Latin America. So we need to understand how big is the US. The United States is the most important trade partner for the Latin American countries. Almost every Latin American country have the US as a main trade partner, maybe not in values, in dollars, but because of the quantity or the variety of products that Latin America sells to the US market. Okay, mainly food processed products, agro-industrial, perishable products, seafood products, and many like that. It's a country with more than 350 million consumers, inhabitants. So it's a really big country with a really good gross domestic product per person. So it's really important, not only the size of the market, because, for example, China, India are bigger markets, but the economy of the US is stronger. So that's a really good opportunity. For Latin America, the main important areas where the products come into the US are maybe Florida, South Florida, where we have Miami, Upper Everglades. There are maybe around 25% or 20% of all the imports from Latin America comes through these two seaports, Miami and Port Everglades. And also it's really important, New York and all the area around the south, the northeast of the US. And of course, if you want to do business with the West Coast, you have to go through California. Okay, that's really important. Globally talking, the US is considered the most important market for food consumption. For food consumption is the most important, not only in amount, in dollars, but also in the diversify or quantity of products that they buy from different markets, not only Latin America, but Asia, Europe, and different places. So it is really a good opportunity that we need to understand how the US buyers, how the US consumers buy, how the US importers, they do business, and how the US distributors, they want to have their products, or they want to have your product here in the US. Since COVID-19, this is really something really important. Since COVID-19, there was a lot of movement here in the US, okay? Because some people that were living, for example, in the Northeast, New York, New Jersey, Boston, they start moving to other states where everything was a little bit cheaper, and the weather was better. Because a lot of people didn't want, to stay in the cold winter. They say, okay, now we can work remotely, and a lot of people moved to Florida. A lot of people moved to Texas, or a lot of people moved to other cities in the southeast of the U.S. So right now you can see that the population or demography of the U.S. have changed in the last 5 years. So before that, I'm already living here in the US for already 11 years. I remember we used to say that if you wanna sell a really expensive, high quality, organic certified chocolate, you will have to sell it, for example, to California, to New York, to Chicago, those cities that have a better consumption of products. Right now, it's not like that. I mean, those cities, they keep with that consumption, of course, but now also in Florida, in Texas, there is a lot of people who are looking for those products, because all the map have changed, because maybe 20 or 25% of the people here in the US, they change to work in the remotely way. Okay, so everything have changed. Imagine somebody who was living in Boston or in Chicago, where 8 months of 12 months was really cold, maybe 4 months with the snow. They say, okay, since I can work right now remotely, I'm gonna move to Florida, and I'm gonna live there. My kids are gonna go there in a really good school. I'm close to Latin America, I'm closer to Europe, and I can work remotely. So that person is demanding right now high added value products here in Florida, and that have changed everything. So there's a lot of opportunities in some states that maybe 5 years or 10 years ago, people would not consider it, okay? This is the US. This is a map from the 2020s. This is the US. If you compare each state to a different economy worldwide. For example, Florida, the economy of Florida is similar to the economy of Indonesia, for example. So only Florida, the economy of Florida is similar to Indonesia. If you see California, the economy of California, similar to the UK, to the United Kingdom. So you cannot have a strategy to say, okay, I want to sell into the US. It's not the same that you sell to Florida, that you sell into California, or you sell to New York. Every state is completely different. Okay, the kind of products that they demand are different. The distribution can change also in every state. The regulations can be more specific in every state. So we have to do a really good market research in deep in that state or the city where we want to sell our products. So what happened? This is a picture that was all around the world last Wednesday. President Donald Trump announced a new era or a new political measurement about the tariff in order to sell into the U.S. market. So right now, it is effective since last Friday, I think. Every country that wants to sell their products into the U.S. have a new tariff going from 10% until 45%, depending on the market. So it will depend on the country of origin, what tariff it will have. And this is additional to the tariff that they had it before. For example, Ecuador, in our case. In Ecuador, for example, we wanted to sell flowers, roses. We had a tariff more or less at 7%. So right now, we have a tariff of 7% plus 17%. So that's what the importers of the US that want to keep buying flowers from Ecuador, for example, for Mother's Day, that is here from 1 month from here, they will have to pay 17% to buy those flowers. If they want to buy from Colombia is the main provider for flowers for the US. They didn't have a tariff. Colombia didn't have a tariff because they have a trade agreement. Now they will have to pay 10%. So this raised the tariff for all the markets that want to sell into the US consumer. And what I consider this is a third event in the last 25 years that maybe is going to change, the dynamics in the market, and can also change, the world trade system that we are working, or we have been working, the World Trade Organization leading, only comparing with the 9/11, because that changed a lot the security norms in trade, in passengers and things, and also COVID-19 that was 5 years ago, that changed the way we work, the way we buy, and also the distributors, since the COVID-19, they prefer to buy closely, to buy maybe from Latin America and not to buy so far like Europe, the US market, and things like that. So we have to see exactly what's going to happen, because a lot of things will change from now on. The first thing, and I'm sorry, I'm just focusing on food. Those are the products that really have a specific regulations. Every company that wants to sell into the U.S. market need to have these kind of documents. They need this kind of compliance documents. For example, every company that wants to sell food into the U.S., they need to have the FDA registration. That's a must. No matter if you are in China, no matter if you're in Japan, if you are in Colombia, you are in Brazil, Peru, if you are in Spain, every company that wants to sell their products in the US must comply with the FDA regulation. That's really important. And some products, depending if you're going to sell into the final consumer, if the product is going to be in a supermarket or a store, you also need to comply with the certain labeling requirements that are imposed by the FDA. And even though if you're selling some products like liquor, cigarettes, tobacco, and other related products, you need a license in order to sell those products here into the US market. So this is really important. What I always say to my clients, to my customers, to sell into the US is not difficult. The difficult thing into the US is who is going to buy your product. Because to sell it to the US, to enter the market, it's not really difficult. Marcelo, you have previous experience in Asia, in Korea, for example. And
Yes.
those countries are more difficult to enter, or to the European Union, for example. The US
Yes,
market, it is
fulfilling
not.
the requirements in South Korea, for example, it takes a lot of investment in time and money just to get the certificates from the local authority. So yeah, you're right.
Exactly. To sell it to the US is not complicated. You need the FDA registration if it is food-related product. If it is not food-related product, you don't need maybe some specific. For example, for textiles, apparels, you need only the typical shipping documents. Okay, but if you have alcoholic or tobacco related products, then you need a specific license. The difficult thing is you don't do nothing if you sell a container here in the US if you don't know where to sell it, if you don't know where to place it, in which market you're going to place it. So that's it, the different things, or the things more important here in the US, how to distribute and how to get into the final consumer. So the FDA registration for food is a really a must-have document. Okay, all foreign companies must be registered through the FDA. It is important that the FDA is not a certification. It's not like I'm organic certified or I'm a fair trade certified. No, FDA is a documental process and if a traceability requirement is to know exactly where does the product comes, from which farm, from which factory, from which warehouse in Colombia, in Peru, in Brazil, in Mexico, or wherever is the origin of the product. So what we need is the company complies with the minimal requirements on food safety, okay, food safety procedures such as BPM, HACCP, normative, and things like that. It depends on the product. You need to have an agent or a representative here in the US, and also the registration is by facility. It's not by product. It's not that if you have a facility in Mexico City or you have a facility in Sao Paulo, Brazil, and you have 8 different products, you need to have 8 registration for each product. No, it's one registration for facility. If all the products are manufactured in that facility, it's one registration for all the 8 products. The difference is if you have a facility where you are manufacturing 3 or 4 products, and you have another facility in the other side of the country, or even in another country, then you need to have 2 registers. Okay, that's the difference. Registration, FDA registration, is by facility and not by product. And this FDA registration must be is mandatory for all the actors that are in the supply chain. Okay, for example, the producer, the distributor, the warehouse where it is a storage, and things like that. So it is really, really important to have all those requirements. Okay, this is more or less what are the main distribution channels for different products. I'm going to skip this because it's more related to or specific to foods. But what I want to explain also that to do business here in the US, in difference to maybe some business in Europe, some business maybe in Latin America, to do business here in the US, you need to have a trade partner here in the US. It's better to have a trade partner. You need logistic providers. You need custom agents. You need to have a sales team, a sales force team, somebody or a team who will be knocking on doors or distributors or importers. And you also need to have the FDA compliance requirements to understand. Why? If you want to sell your product into the US supermarket, a retail store, the retail store is not going to buy like this product from Ecuador, from Colombia, for China in FOB Incoterm. It's going to buy it here. They want to have it in their store, and they're not going to buy it. Maybe the one who is going to buy it is the distributor, and he's going to do business with the distributor, and the supermarket will have a margin of not less than 30%. But the supermarket, they go through distributors, and distributors go to find the different providers of the different exporters in Latin America, Asia, Europe. In Latin America, it's different. It mostly, or in most of the countries in Latin America, they buy directly from the producers. For example, I know in Ecuador, the supermarket, the main supermarket or retail stores, they buy directly from the producer, the farmer, or the industry. Okay, because it's a really short, distribution chain. Here in the US, you need a distributor, you need the warehouse, you need sometimes the broker, because some big companies like Walmart, Target, they do business through brokers that they trust, that they have been doing business in the last 25, 30 years. So this is something really important that we need to understand. When you see a product in a shelf, in a supermarket that says the product is $8, it doesn't mean that they pay $5 or $4.50 to the producer. It has to go through a different levels, through different partners. So maybe that product that is on $8 on the shelf, maybe the producers or the manufacturer maybe is having $2.50 or $3, no more than that. Besides 30% or 40% of the final price that is in the shelf. Okay, so and something really important that we would like to show is that, for example, what kind of services we provide. And I'm going to skip this, and I'm going to say about these events that we're going to have this year here in the US. We're going to do three trade missions. One is in New York in a couple of months. The New York Fancy Food Show is the most important trade show for specialized food. The food and beverage that is in Miami in September, that's the most specialized food for the Latin American market. I mean, for the Latin consumer that is here in the US. There is no more or not less than 60 or 70 million people here that are buying Latin American products. And the other one is the Global Produce and Floral Show that is in California, Los Angeles, on the month of October. On each event, we're going to have a specific program. We're going to have meetings with the distributors, logistic providers. We're going to have meetings with buyers, with distributors for those specific products that the companies are offering. We're going to have meetings with supermarkets that they're going to show us, if you want to sell them, what are the steps that you need to follow. And on the Fancy Food Show, we're going to be 2 days in the trade show, and it's a package, everything included. It will be 4 days, completely scheduled, completely full-time, where they're going to have a really good meetings with different buyers here in the US for those kind of products that are in fancy food. Remember, fancy food is more related to specialty foods, gourmet foods, and things like that. The other one is the American Food and Beverage. This is American Food and Beverage. This is different because American Food and Beverage is in Miami, but it's more related to products that the Latin markets or the Latin consumers buy here in the US. It's a similar program like we did in New York, or like we're going to do in New York, but the difference here is that the trade show, the American Food and Beverage, is not so big. So we're going to be 2 days previous to the trade show in meetings with distributors, logistic providers to the Port of Miami, and 1 day full-time meetings with buyers and distributors at the Food and Beverage Show. So that's the difference. Because New York Fancy Food Show is really maybe 3 times bigger than the American Food and Beverage. And the other one is the Global Produce and Floral Show, where we will have also a trade mission, and this is a specialized event for perishable products. Pineapple, avocado, mango, plantain, banana, blueberries, all the importers and distributors here in the US that are related to produce trade and imports. Okay, so this is going to be in October. It's going to be 1 day previously to visit to different supermarkets, visit different distributors, warehouse in Los Angeles, and then 2 days of meetings in the Global Produce and Flores Show. As I say, all the 3 programs are for schedule, are a package, a completely package for the company that wants to participate, and we will be really glad to have one of them here with us. Okay, that will be the end of my presentation. Marcelo, I don't know if somebody have a question. You can contact us through WhatsApp here directly, or this is our email or our website. We will be really glad to help you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, my dear friend. Manuel Echeverría is an expert on how to open markets, not just the United States, but also Brazil, Latin American markets, Ecuador, as well as other markets. Thank you very much for joining us. We will be working with Manuel in promoting business delegations to these events Manuel already explained and showed. So probably in the no later than next week, we will launch the several events, business delegations to different countries, including France, Colombia, United States, and others. So we are assembling a package of business delegations for Mexican exporters. So you can join us, you can register with us, and we will be organizing with our partners. One of them will be Manuel here. So thank you very much, Manuel, and we will continue with Sergio. So now with Manuel, we saw how Mexican exporters, and in general, Latin American exporters can go to the United States market, and some of these principles apply to other countries in general. So how Mexican and Latin American exporters can go to foreign markets. Now we will see with Sergio the other way, on the other side of the trade flows, not exports, but imports. So thank you very much, Manuel. I understand you are busy because you have another webinar, and then you have other activities. So we'll be in contact with you, and have a great day.
Thank you so much, Marcelo. Have a great day.
Thank
you
you
for the invitation. Sergio, also nice to meet you, okay? Have a good day.
Nice to
Bye.
meet you,
Thank you.
Manuel. Have a nice day.
And additionally, Manuel, sorry, thank you very much, because also we understand you are promoting also exports from the United States to other markets. So we'll be in contact also to promote both sides of the trade flows, which is export import. So then we will be talking with Sergio, and then this is the good thing about the organizations like Concanaco Servitur that serves as a bridge to connect and dynamize exports, imports in general, to make a better world for trading partners. Thank you very much, and have a great day, Manuel. Well, Sergio,
thank you so much.
Well, the floor is yours, and you have a lot of things to tell us on how to do business here in Mexico, and how exporters from different parts of the world can come and commercialize their products here. Please.
Thank you, Marcelo. First, I want to thank you for inviting me to this webinar, and to have the opportunity to talk about what Mexico is really about, the business today. A couple of weeks ago, when we started discussing this webinar, I was preparing for another scenario completely. The uncertainty that has led the markets to decline, destroying friendships and foster distrust among allies, has prompted a new scenario. This scenario can be interpreted by different approaches. But what really shows is that, one, we have little influence over public policies or government decision, including those that makes our own government. Anything we create can be dismantled in an instant. Third, no external forces can prevent us from acting as free citizens and compliance with the rule of law. And the fourth, the market forces are completely unaware of politics. So we're going to continue to do business, not as usual, but different, more intelligent, more proactive, and we will have to anticipate, adaptate, and take action in a different way. We're talking about the introduction to the Mexican market, the entry strategies for foreign companies, barriers to trade in Mexico, and the key to success for selling in Mexico. Now we have a brief overview of Mexico's current situation. Mexico is many Mexicos. We have sorry. We have one Mexico that is completely industrial, the other one that is completely committed to the trade, the other one that is all about consuming. Mexico, in the perspective in 2025, is aligning the need to grow internally with the need to trade with different markets. We are one of the countries that has the most commercial agreements with other countries. So we have a very active commercial trade with international partners. As well, in Mexico, there is a nearshoring phenomenon that has been occurred during the past years that is providing with the United States and Canada the chains of distribution and production. Now in Mexico it's very notorious that we are looking to have a more relevant activity in the international markets. Now, one of the things that Mexico is striving to is the role in the United States, Mexico, and Canada agreement. At this point, Mexico, Canada, and the United States have an integration that is difficult to be disrupted. That's why President Trump hasn't touched the agreement at this point. Now, Mexico is changing their behavior. The demographics and the spending habits of the Mexican has changed, not just in the last decade, but in the last few years, 2-3 years ago, with the pandemics, Mexico has changed completely. Most of the people now are looking for digital markets. They are doing their consumption through pages, apps, websites, and a lot of different means that can provide them their consumer goods. At this point, we are seeing that the digital transformation of the retail space is being tremendously rapid in Mexico. One of the things that we need to see is that we're accustomed to see the business-to-business approach or the business-to-consumer approach. But each day is going to be more specialized. It's going to be business to me, to the special needs that I have. Here in Mexico, we are seeing a phenomena that goes from how can I make the digital go to the real, to the reality? Who's going to give us the last push of the product, of the service, or whatever other need I have in this moment? And this is why we are really happy to collaborate with the Global Consulting Investment Center of Concanaco. because it's the one that is making this possible. We are going from the virtual to the real with an environment of people that has all the knowledge and all the tools that can help us to give our products to the Mexican market. The entry strategies. This is where the things became really important. Direct exporting from companies that wants to sell in Mexico has advantages, lower risk and investment, have as challenges as shipping, logistics, and customer regulations, but you need somebody that already wants your product. You need somebody that already wants to invest in your product and give it to the Mexican market. There are some retailers like ¿cómo se llama la fuerza mexicana? There is a brand in Mexico that makes the direct import, and they do all the selling, and that's perfectly good. But are the fewest in the market. Joint ventures, that is to have a partnership with local firms that can facilitate the market entry. This one is one of the most attractive at this moment. With the Global Key Investment Consulting Center, you have a variety of professionals that gives you the opportunity to make these joint ventures, to have a lower curve of learning, to spend less, to have lower risk, and to do the things in an easy way. The other one is franchising. The viability of franchising in the Mexican market is really wide, but you have to do a really important economic effort to do so in Mexico. The other one is to come to Mexico to have a direct investment and to construct an infrastructure that gives you the possibility to produce in Mexico, to sell in Mexico, and to export from Mexico. This logically has an intensive investment in time, money, and resources of all kinds. For me, at this moment, you have to open to different strategies to make your brand really successful in Mexico. One of them is the joint ventures and the soft landing. Barriers to trade in Mexico. For the Mexican compliance of this, just give me a second, okay. To the barriers to trade in Mexico, the regulatory challenges in Mexico are few. Mostly, we have to comply with two things. The things that I need to do as a company to sell, import, export, or do whatever in the Mexican market. The other one is my product, and my product has to comply also with custom tariffs, with certifications, like the FDA in the United States. Here in Mexico is COFEPRIS, and we have another regulatory relevant participants like Senacica, and another bunch of Mexican authorities that can ask us to have compliance with some standards, with some specific standards.
Sorry, Sergio, just for the people who doesn't know, Senacica is like the FDA in the United States. Just for people in Asia and in some other countries, it's the national authority to take care of the sanitary and phytosanitary regulations.
Yes, this is all the agro-industrial part of Mexico is regulated by Senacica, seeds, plants, and some fruits. Okay. One of the important things to see is that the regulatory challenges can be met with time and money. That is not a problem. In Mexico, we would need about from 6 to 8 months to put a company in the position of start making operations. The importance of the compliance with the Mexican standards of normas oficiales mexicanas, Mexican official rules, are really in hand in hand with international law. So there's not going to be any difference with what you are doing in your country or in another way. There are difficult things that you're going to have to say, that is the cultural differences, the navigating the business etiquette and practice. Here in Mexico, business are being doing in a different way. That is the importance of the Confederation of Commercial Chambers of Commerce, that provide us the possibility to engage with another entrepreneurs or another companies that needs or has or practice business the same way that we do. All infrastructure in Mexico, it's been done. We have ports, we have airports, we have highways, we have railroads, but everything is scattered through the country. You need to know what change of distribution, what change of production you need to do to really approach it. To really benefit from this infrastructural and local logistic and transportation hurdles. Now we have really a market saturation, and the competitive status and importance of certain market research is important, so you can land these products and these services in the best way possible. Which are the key success factors for selling in Mexico? We think that we have the importance of the market research to identify the target demographics, adapting the products and the marketing strategies to the local preferences. That is understanding the consumer. And the consumer now is changing to a more sophisticated consumer. Building relationships in Mexico is about trust, is about doing networking, is about giving the other the certainty that you are going to be able to comply with whatever you are offering. One of the key parts is that we have to do virtually and really whatever we need to make our product and our brands specifically relevant in Mexico. Leveraging the social media, using the platforms, and the adequate use of technology and innovation can make your business grow in Mexico. Here in the Global Investment Consulting Center, they have a bunch of services that are related to these matters, and you can approach to Mr. Marcelo Pasos to have these offers and these specific services explained to you later. Customizing offerings. One of the things is the products has to have a portfolio and a mix that is correct, so you can interact in the Mexican market in the perfect way. The importance of localization, language, package, and everything that is around our product is especially important for engaging the local consumer into your product. All the legal and regulatory frameworks are going to be, you're going to be able to navigate them with ease, because everything is aligned to the United States or to the European community. So you're not going to have problems to import your products. In conclusion, Mexico has a really important market for the products and the services to be consumed in Mexico. We are a country that is specialized in giving services, and these services are the one that allow us to receive American or international companies in Mexico and help them to do business in Mexico in the easiest way possible. To come from the virtual part to the real part with this. At this point in Mexico, we want this opportunity to be taken by those who has the agility to make decisions swiftly, and they can anticipate to the movements of the market. I'm going to finish by a conclusion. There is the example of one of the companies in Ecuador, that is Bacari, that is doing business in Mexico virtually. They don't have an office in Mexico. They don't have a representative in Mexico, and they do all their business through a virtual company that allows them to sell with traditional retailers, that allows them to work with digital retailers, and they are doing so many good branding in Mexico that it has a minimum cost. So that's it. I don't know if anyone has any questions.
Thank you very much, Sergio. Yes, we have a lot of users in our YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook channels. So we will transfer if there's any question to you directly, so then later we can respond. Thank you very much for this excellent presentation. Now we understand what are the key aspects to manage businesses from abroad to Mexico. I don't want to close this webinar without saying that you manage software, a platform to manage business digitally, right? When you manage business digitally, basically you facilitate the operations here in Mexico. Is that correct?
Yes, Global Gateway Mexico is a company that is a company as a service. We do all the comply part of the companies, so everybody can come and sell in Mexico. We do the import, the selling, the collecting, and the paying for all our partners. But they do so through a platform, to a digital platform that is 24/7, that is autogestive, and that they have all the control of their products and their money in Mexico. So,
and for how long you've been operating this way?
We have operated this way for 8 years, and with this company we are starting 7 months ago.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Wonderful, Sergio. Yeah, I understand you have clients for years, and you have been helping them to expand their businesses here in Mexico. Well, anyway, thank you very much, Sergio, for this wonderful time. We had today Manuel Echeverría and Sergio Navarrete, both providing two different aspects of trade flows: exports, imports, how to export to the United States, and most of those principles apply to export from different markets. So Mexican exporters can understand well how to, what are the main aspects, what are the main documents and processes they have to take into consideration to go to foreign markets. And with Sergio, here we have learned what are they also on the main characteristics of Mexican market, and what are the main options or the to-do list, in other words, to take into consideration when you want to come to Mexican market. So thank you very much, Sergio, and we will be in contact and to promote more and more businesses from and to Mexico. Have a great day, and we are closing out this wonderful webinar. Have a great day from the Confederation of Chambers of Commerce, Services, and Tourism of Mexico, the largest and oldest trade organization with 258 chambers in the 32 states of Mexico. We cover more than 60% of national GDP. We really want to thank, and we will be continue with this series of webinars. Now, instead of having one webinar every single month, we will have every 2 weeks. So we will start promoting each state of Mexico. We'll start promoting Sonora, we'll start promoting Veracruz, we'll start promoting Querétaro, Mexico City, and some others with the local authorities in charge of promoting businesses and the economy of those regions. So you will start learning about what are the main products that Tijuana, for example, is producing. Not just what you may know about news, but actually what are the main industries and local production for exports, imports, and local consumption. So, well, we'll announce soon in through our social media channels and directly to the network of embassies, national and international associations, bilateral chambers, trade promotion agencies, and well, we are well connected now, and we will continue to do this for quite a long time. Have a great day. God bless you. Bye-bye.
Ciao, ciao.
Bienvenidos al futuro del ecosistema de negocios en México. La Confederación de Cámaras de Comercio, Servicios y Turismo de México se enorgullece en presentar el Global Investment Consulting Center, el primer centro de trabajo compartido y servicios globales integrales diseñado para impulsar y fortalecer las oportunidades de inversión y desarrollo empresarial en nuestro país.
En este centro ofrecemos una amplia gama de servicios especializados que hacen posible que su empresa se desarrolle, se establezca y prospere conjuntamente con nuestra red empresarial en las 32 entidades federativas de México. Entre nuestros servicios, destacamos aquellos que harán la diferencia en su camino hacia el éxito. ¿Está buscando abrir una empresa en México? Le proporcionamos todo el apoyo legal y administrativo necesario para que su proyecto se establezca de manera rápida y segura. Si su meta es traer inversión extranjera, nuestro equipo de expertos se encargará de guiarlo a través de todos los procesos, maximizando las oportunidades de éxito para que su inversión tenga una base sólida para crecer, diferenciarse y llegue a un buen puerto.
Para ello, nuestra ventanilla única ofrece varios servicios como aquellos necesarios para registrar sus marcas y servicios legales digitales de vanguardia, con la tecnología que mejoran la seguridad jurídica y le ahorrarán tiempo y costo. Pero nuestro apoyo no se detiene ahí. También damos la bienvenida a los inversionistas y sus familias, facilitando su integración en México para que su experiencia de expansión sea plena y sin complicaciones.
El Global Investment Consulting Center no solo ofrece servicios, somos su socio estratégico en cada paso del desarrollo de su empresa, brindándole las herramientas y el acompañamiento necesario para que su proyecto tenga un impacto duradero y exitoso en México y más allá.